Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here. Welcome back to the channel for a quick update on Galagames. In today's episode, I wanted to discuss with you my 1 cent price target for Galagames, how soon I think we're going to be coming down to this level, but we're going to start off looking at the lower time frames, going through a bunch of different charts, moving averages, volume profiles, Fibonacci's, building up to some higher time frame things we've been discussing like this Elliott wave theory and how this is planning out for the markets right now. And of course, wrapping up on my price targets. So let's start off on the lower time frames. In the last video, we talked about, this specific range right down here. Now, we previously established range lows in March, backtested, 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 backtested. And since then, we broke down, absolutely nuked to the downside to 1.5 cent, and we came right up to this previous range low level again. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking it's a little bit weird how we've obviously, blasted above this level and then just blasted beneath this level like it didn't really exist. But, this is a very well-known pattern. This is known as a swing failure pattern, or an SFP for short. Now, obviously, in this example right here, we had a range high swing failure pattern. But you can see previous instances, like, for example, Gala listed over on Binance right down here at 2 cent. This was a very, very important level that we needed to obviously hold, respect, retest, etc. And we did break beneath this level, and you can see as soon as we broke beneath the Binance listing price, we absolutely nuked through the floorboards down to 1.5 cent. This was a monumental drop. Literally pretty much as soon as we broke beneath this level, we dropped about 26%. But this ended up being a range low swing failure pattern because we quickly swang back up to the upside to the range highs up here at basically 4.9 but 5 cent. We came up to this level, had a swing failure pattern. It's much more visible in the weekly time frame if I show you this, much more clean. You can see right here, swing failure pattern to the downside of the lows, and then you can see up here, range high swing failure pattern. We booted above this level, and then since then we've started to melt back down to the downside. You can actually see on the weekly time frame as well. I love using the Heikenashis, especially on Galagames, because it is very one-directional once it starts to choose a trend, and you can see we have started to switch red for the Heikenashi candles. You can very much see, when you're in a green pattern, it often lasts for a while. When you're in a red pattern, it often lasts for a while. These bounces, once you do turn back into green, can be pretty monumental. Some of these are short-lived, but in general, when you're looking at the start of these new bearish trends, bear in mind you discount doji candles when you are looking at not Elliott wave theory. When you are looking at Heikenashis, you do discount doji candles. So this was basically one beautiful smooth trend all the way back down to the downside. And the last time that we properly switched into light red, we were all the way up here at 6 cent and broke down to 1.5 cent. And of course, right now, we flipped bearish at 5 cent, and I do think that we are going to be coming down to this 1 cent level like you did obviously read in the title of this video. Now, there's a few other things that I want to show you before we do discuss that price target. There are also a few other levels that we have rejected from. If I get rid of the moving averages, if we are looking at all of the volume that has been traded for Galagames, at least when we are looking at the Binance pair, do bear in mind for some exchanges, decentralized exchanges, this went before 2 cent, but in general, most of the volume came in this range anyway. And if we are looking at the VPVR, the volume profile for the visible range, basically where the most amount of data traded, this is established in this pump over here. You can also see the range lows that were respected here, range low rejection, and we've spent a decent amount of time trading in this range for the past few weeks. So this was a big area of liquidity that we obviously did push back up to, and as you can see, we pushed into this area of liquidity. We grabbed liquidity from this volume profile, and now we are starting to move back down to the downside. And really, you can pretty much see, volume starts tapering off and diminishing until we come down to this next volume cluster around about 2.5 cents. So even if you're bullish, even if you're expecting a retrace and a bounce, it's looking like 2.5 cent in the immediate short term is a level to keep your eyes on. You've got 786 Fibonacci down here at 2.55 as well, so definitely keep your eyes on this target in the immediate short term. If we do also discuss the oscillators, before we do zoom out to this Elliott wave theory, you can see right now on the squeeze momentum indicator, we are ticking into light green. We are still holding light green. Bear in mind, this the squeeze momentum indicator is really like a macro oscillator. It takes a lot of momentum to move into a new bearish trend, and currently we're still sitting in light green, just like we were over here, indicative that we probably have a lot of room to move back down to the downside. Other oscillators are also in agreement with this. If we look at the stochastic RSI down here, you can actually see in terms of how this has been trading on KuCoin, this came all the way up to 100 for the stochastic RSI, completely overextended, and we have now flipped bearish for the stochastic RSI, and we are starting to head back down to the downside. If we look at the last time this had a proper rejection, you can see we had one not rejection, sorry, we had a bearish cross right here, and we start to move back down. Before then, we had a bearish cross when we were around about, 60 or so for the stochastic RSI, and this correlated to when we were all the way up here at, between 7 to 7.5 cent or so, and we obviously melted to the downside in both of these instances. But looking at this now, the squeeze momentum indicator came all the way up to 100, and now it's starting to flip bearish. And if we look at the MFI, the money flow index, we are super overextended right now. I just did a altcoin update on KDA, and a lot of these altcoins are breaking down to the downside while their money flow index is super overextended, and they're actually starting to move down, while in the past week or so the MFI has been bouncing back up, which means basically a lot of retail traders are trying to hold this coin up, and this is really not a good sign. Price is moving to the downside, and the MFI is heading up, indicative that we are just so oversold right now, and we need to see a lot of brutal moves to the downside to basically come down and even reset the MFI down to its heartline. It would take a lot of moving to come back down to the downside. We're still super overextended for the squeeze momentum indicator, super overextended for the stochastic RSI, and super overextended for the MFI. Now, when we do move on and look at this Elliott wave theory, I'm not going to discuss in too much detail how this Elliott wave theory works. We did make a very long in-depth video specifically talking about this Galagames Elliott wave theory 2 weeks ago, and in this video we also included a source in the description down below, so if you do want this, I will also leave the source of how this is calculated. But for the most part, most people look at Elliott wave theory in 5 waves or ABC zigzag structures. In the macro time frame, you can see you have bearish ABC corrections with micro 5 wave, micro ABCs within this macro ABC. But this is a different pattern in of itself. This is called a WXY double free structure. This is basically where you have a typical zigzag ABC followed up by an INI free, which can be an ABC moving down, an ABC moving sideways, or even an ABC moving up, followed by another typical zigzag bearish ABC. So this is called a double free structure because you have a double zigzag, meaning a double ABC down, and it's called a free structure because you've got a zigzag, and an any free ABC. So you've got 3 ABCs, but only 2 of these are typical zigzags. So if we do come over to this chart, you can see from right here, we had a beautiful A, B, C coming down to what is known as the W. So, this is almost like a big ABC. So it's called a WXY, probably just because they didn't want to include like another ABC in this, but you can see this is basically like an A, B, C, but it's a WXY with these specific Elliott wave ABCs within it. So we came down and formed W here, and then we had a slanted sideways ABC, which is your any free pattern. And according to this pattern, for this to be valid, we of course need to stay beneath the C wave right here. So wave B, which we just quite recently experienced, can't exceed wave C. If we do come over to this, you can see tick right on the nail on the head there. We formed W, we came up to X, which is also wave C, and since then this was up here at 7.3 cent. We broke down, bounced back up, and topped out at 6.3 cents. So this is still completely valid. And with this, we should be forming a new zigzag pattern, meaning a new A, B, C for Galagames, with this C wave taking us down into new lows. Now, do bear in mind, while this is obviously a very bearish pattern, this could be indicative that if we do see this final C wave to the downside, that we might be done with the bear market for Galagames. Obviously, it seems a little bit too early to say something like that, but just letting you know, we obviously do need to keep an eye on this, but either way, even if we go down a little bit lower, this WXY double free structure is telling us, hey, we've got another ABC to come to the downside, and yeah, this is really what it's looking like at this moment in time. So with this final wave from B to C, we should be expecting a microwave count something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, taking us down into new lows. Now, I don't know if I talked about this over here. I think I hid these EMA ribbons and forgot to talk about them, but just very quickly, you can see if we do get rid of this chart as well, we have rejected from some other levels as well in accordance with this. If we look at the EMA ribbons, we came into the short-term moving average, and now we've just fallen beneath this. And if we pull up the bull market support bands, we've basically had a failed move above these, and we're currently coming back down and back testing them right now. If we do hold 3.5 cent, that would be bullish, so be it. But this is looking pretty much like a BART pattern that should be coming back down to the downside. And if we pair this with all of our other analysis, looking at, this swing failure pattern, looking at the Heikin-Arshis, looking at the EMA ribbons coming up and grabbing liquidity, oscillators are telling us we're very overextended, and also this very, very nice pattern that you don't see play out too often in the markets. This is much less prominent than a typical ABC structure. It's not seen too often, but when you do see these WXY double free structures, they are very, very nice. And in my opinion, I do much prefer using these over typical ABC patterns. So with this, a lot of indicators are telling us, hey, we should be coming down for our final wave C. Also, quickly wrapping up with my price targets, if we come over to Gala BTC, you can really see, there's not much in terms of support for us at this moment in time. Gala BTC also looks like it's putting in a BART pattern and wants to start coming back down. And, even if we're being conservative and saying Gala against Bitcoin should drop about another 51%, I just did a video on KDA talking about, hey, the KDA BTC pair, if we look at, how far Bitcoin has to come down to make new lows, it's about 28%. Adding this, 51%, this is approximately another 80% drop for Galagame. So, let's see how far this could take us down. And once again, this is about an 86% drop, which is a bit overshooting, but do bear in mind, I think Bitcoin breaks beneath its previous range lows. So with this, it's not off the table for Galagames to come all the way down to this 6 cent price target, but I do want to take things one price target at a time. There is one very important Fibonacci level that I have had my eyes on for Galagames for quite some time now, and it is down here at this 1.618 Fibonacci. This also correlates to listing prices on big exchanges like KuCoin. It also correlates to a huge psychological target. I'm sure people don't start thinking, hey, I want to buy at 1.2349 cent. They say, hey, I want to buy at 1 cent, I want to sell at 10 cent, or with Bitcoin, they're like, I want to buy at 10K, I want to sell at 100K, I want to sell at 500K. Most of the time people look at these big psychological levels. So in my opinion, I do think this area right down here, if I can find it, boom, this area down here is really going to be a magnet for Galagames. Once again, between 1 cent and 0.06 cent. But we take things one price target at a time. In the immediate short term, I do believe this magnet at 1 cent is going to be, pulling Galagames all the way back down into it. But there we go, that's all I've got for you today, my friends. Like I said, I will leave a link down below if you want to read more about this Elliott wave theory. Like I said, I made an in-depth video about this the other day, so I kind of just wanted to fly through a few different opinions with you. As always, if you enjoy the content, let me know down below by leaving a like and comment. Share the videos with your friends. Also, if you want more from me, more posts, charts, memes, and more about my personal life, be sure to follow me over on Twitter at 618_cowboy. Come and join the Discord if you want to join. The link is in the description down below, or you can come over to my YouTube, click on About, and you can see my Twitter, Discord, Instagram, and merch store are all down below. But for today, that's all I've got. It's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out. Peace.